Friends, we are continuing with our series on disclosures made by Lodha employees on the quality of drywalls, ceilings, stuff like that. Here I am going to specifically talk about jointing in the drywalls, that is, the joints between the gypsum board and how they have been done, and they have been incorrectly done at Lodha New Cuff Parade. The screws have also been incorrectly put in. There are a number of things that are wrong, uh, which I am going to point out based on the presentations that were sent to me. These presentations were sent, I think, 3 or 4 years ago to the Lodha top management, and the same presentations have been sent to me, and the Lodha employees have explained what is wrong. So, this is an answer to all the people who have been trying to say that no, what is wrong with drywall, etc. First of all, let me begin by saying that I do not agree to the principle of using drywall in Mumbai. That is first and foremost. I believe that using gypsum board in the humid conditions of Mumbai is a bad idea. Point one. Moreover, even if it is used in office premises or hotel premises, that may be tolerable, but using gypsum board to construct residential premises, I feel is a terrible idea, and I know a lot of people who agree with me, because in residential premises you have kids, you have dogs and cats. All of these can very quickly damage the gypsum board and practically cause the entire wall to be compromised within a matter of minutes. You can have spillages, you can have accidental collisions by, let us say, a child who is running and runs up against the wall, etc. All this I am going to put aside, and now I am going to talk about what is a good quality drywall and what is a bad quality drywall. What you are seeing before you right here, this is an example of a good quality drywall that has been erected at Lodha World Tower. Now again, I am comparing a Lodha product with a Lodha product. Here, the Lodha product is a good product. This is how the gypsum board should be put together, and I will explain what it is. This indicates that there are entire gypsum board these things, there are no random cuts. It is properly done. That is point one. And second, you see this is a switchboard which I'm going to zoom in on. Okay, or that's where the electrical fittings are put into walls, and let us zoom in on that and let's take a look at how neatly it can be done, and that is how it should be done. Okay, this is how it looks. It is, as you can see, very neatly embedded into the wall. There are no extra cuts, there are no gaps. It is a neat job, it's a clean job. Second, let us understand what these white lines are about. Wherever you have a white line here, these white lines, it shows that there is a joint, and that joint is supported by a metal member called a stud. Okay, so you have studs here, you also have a stud here going horizontally. It is called a noggin bar or something like that, but you have these things going horizontally and they support the joints. Wherever there is a joint, you have to have a noggin bar. Secondly, wherever you are seeing these dots are showing screws. So this is where the screws have been attached to the substrate below. Okay, now wherever screws are attached, they have to put a white patch or a spot over there, and the screws have to be completely flush with the surface of the gypsum board, but without breaking the surface of the gypsum board. We are going to come to that in a few minutes. Okay, let me show you the screws. But first, let me read the caption that is given below this. This is a caption that was given in the PDF file. DIFL, I think DIFL is the name of some company. Correct method of installation. All boards are uniform to maintain quality. Deflection maintained to ensure what is this? Deflection maintained to ensure quality into the, yeah, that seems to have got cut off. All taping is as per international standard. This is how a freshly done up gypsum board wall looks. And by the way, it's not just the walls, we are going to talk about ceilings also. Even these ceilings have been done with gypsum board. You can take a close look there, you can see those white marks. That is done with again, the entire thing is done with gypsum board. So it is the ceiling and the wall are done by the same people and in a very uniform methodical way. Now let us take a look at what we see at what would have been seen at Lodha New Cuff Parade before the painting happened. Okay, before the painting happened, what you would be seeing is walls that look like this. This has been covered up in paint, but let me show you what these walls are. Okay, now this looks like a child took some cardboard and just took random pieces and filled them in. You can see the random cuts over here. You see a cut like this. Okay, you see these. Presumably they may be trying to make a door over here. This may be for a doorway. I don't know if that is the intent, but it certainly looks like it. But look at this random cut over here. Okay, so I am going to show you another one, another room where similar work has been done. Look at the number of colors here. This is a green gypsum board. Green gypsum board suggests that it would be waterproof. Now they have used some waterproof gypsum board here, and then they have used some here that is also the same green color, and then they used, these are gypsum boards, maybe it's the same batch or it may be different batches, or maybe bleached in the sun. Some of it may be older, but as you can see, there are all different colors here. This is a whole bunch of different colors suggesting different batches, and you can see what uneven cuts. It's like a child's craft project, you know, a very the kind of child that fails his exam. Look at these cuts. These are called service cuts. These are made for the purpose of putting in things like electrical boxes or AC vents or AC electricals or sprinklers. Now these are the kind of cuts. As you can see, they are very disuniform, very ugly, and it is not just about ugliness. They lead to technical problems, which I am going to explain in a while. Now here's the caption. It says basic boarding patterns not followed on NCP, insufficient fixings, metal and workmanship that would have this partition condemned. Okay, this partition wall, drywall is also called partition wall, would have to be condemned. Okay, this could not even be accepted. Quality of this standard compromises the name of the developer and the material supplier. This is what was written in a report 2 or 3 years ago. And we can see now how prophetic these words were. Whoever wrote these words must have known exactly what was wrong in the whole thing, and now we can see that it has come back to haunt the developer. Again, more of the same kind of work. Now look at the kind of gaps you see over here. You see the gaps between, you see these gaps. This is the kind of work where these gaps compromise the strength. Basic boarding patterns not followed on NCP, insufficient fixings, metal and workmanship. Again, same thing, right? Quality of the standard compromises the name of the developer and the material supplier. Now, material suppliers are like Saint Gobain and USG Boral. They have standards, and their whole the drywall material is tested for an acoustic rating, and it is tested for fire rating. So they give ratings like this will stand, this drywall, if correctly done, will stand up to 2 hours of fire or 3 hours of fire. It also talks about acoustic ratings, as in this will last, it will give you protection against, it will reduce 20 decibels from the noise and so on. But in this present kind of work, there is no acoustic rating whatsoever, and there is no fire rating whatsoever. All bets are off. Here's another one. You can see this huge gaps over here, and it's okay. On the other side, you've got a very good example of what is the correct work. Okay, you can see there is no jointing. You can see the screws being closed together, uniformly done. They are at a uniform distance from this line. The screws are holding on to the side, the lines very closely. Whereas here, you got one screw which is far from the edge, another screw which is close to the edge, a third screw which is actually on the edge. These screws are far from the edge. This one is far from the edge. So you can see there's a very poor standardization. Okay, and here's the caption. It says, left NCP, chaotic installation, no detail being followed, no fire, acoustic or quality parameters being maintained. Right, DIFL World Towers installation, note all screws at correct centers and depth. This is critical to maintain quality. So this is how the work has to be done, and look at the kind of work that has been done. It is extremely shoddy work. Now I'm going to show you the electrical boxes. That's how the electrical boxes were fitted together and in these walls. Now take a look again at this wall. This looks like wastage boards have been used. Look at this. You can get an idea of how ununiform the whole thing is. Okay, I'm going to close up on the screws, and I'm going to close up to the electrical box. Now first let's take a look at these screws. Take a look at this screw. This screw has been driven into the gypsum board. Gypsum board is a delicate material, and if you turn a screw more than it is supposed to be turned, it goes into the gypsum board. It breaks the surface, and once it breaks the surface, it has essentially crushed the gypsum within and reduced its life, like anything. Now I'll show you another one where you can see how the screw has destroyed the gypsum board. This is an example of a screw, and because of the stress of the screw, the whole thing has gotten destroyed. You can see the cracks propagating out of it. Now this is wasted, and ideally this should have, not only ideally, with any sense of standards, this board should have been removed, and in fact all these boards should have been removed and replaced. A correctly fixed screw might look like this. This is a decent screw. This is a decently fixed screw here, where it has gone to the correct depth, but that's an example. There is another decently fixed screw here. Let me see, where is that? Yes, now this looks like a halfway decent job. It looks like a decent job. So there are some things which are done well, but most of the things are done so badly. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Look at the electrical box. Look at the amount of gap there is between the gypsum board and the box. Okay, look at the shoddy quality of workmanship. Look at how bad the cuts are. When you have quality this bad, I'm going to show you more. Now this is the kind of stuff you have all over New Cuff Parade, Lodha New Cuff Parade, and it is only concealed by a coat of paint and these joints rather, not or cracks and joints, right? Breakages like this and joints like these are covered by a paper. Okay, it is a paper tape which is covering it. It is being taped up, and the tapes are the only thing holding the wall together. People who are who understand drywalls told me that if the whole place had been put together correctly with the correct drywall patterns, I would not be able to beat, I could not punch my way through a properly done drywall. It would hurt my fist. I might fracture my knuckles if I tried. This is what they said. Whereas with this kind of joints, with these kind of loose joints, it is very easy for anybody to punch through the walls. So again, the comment here is workmanship so poor that this partition would not pass basic quality tests. And he says there are no details being followed in NCP. The screw pattern is chaotic and not as per the required standard. This will cause severe quality issues. And the first manifestation of the quality issues is that you can punch through them. They have no strength whatsoever. This is the work of New Cuff Parade. Again, as I said, this is waterproof material being used. This is non-waterproof material. Why is non-waterproof material and waterproof material being used in this random way? This green stuff is waterproof or water resistant gypsum board. Okay, it is supposed to be used in the wet areas. This stuff is the general material. Now, the fact that there is this kind of mixing of material shows that there is no standardization, that the whole thing is just wasted material being used over here. There's a lot of wastage material which should be discarded, and it is being used over here. Now I'm going to point out just one or two more details. Let me see if I can find them very quickly. There are few things that are also wrong, and they are compromising the strength of the. Okay, here are some details about so again, electricals. You can see how the electrical box has been badly fitted. You can see these huge joints. You can see that irregular cut. You can see those holes. The screws have been removed, and now this. You can see that there is no alignment here. You can see this gap over here, right? You come to this one. It's just overall terrible quality. It's horrible quality. Now I'll show you some more. We have seen some of these cuts. This cut seems to have been made by a worker with a circular saw and absolutely no training. And look at him. He has gone and cut, all the way. Look at the length of these cuts, whereas what he needed was this square cut. So this kind of random cutting is something which destroys the life of the drywall, and there is absolutely no standardization being followed. Now let me show you one or two other things. We have seen some of these images yesterday in the two other videos. I am looking for some examples to show you very clear lacunae of the support system. Okay, this is one random way in which this, look at this work. This is a sliding door frame, and look at the random way in which it has been um, just some material has been used. It is like the work of a cobbler, whereas this kind of work is completely unacceptable, not only in flats costing 3.5 crore, but even otherwise. If you have any kind of a flat where drywall is being used, this quality of work is completely unacceptable. It cannot be done. It should never be done. The worker who did this should be fired. Let me show you some more images. It's I think in the other, it's I think in this one. Yes, now let us take a look at the screws here. Again, screws overdriven. Now this is an example of screws that have been overdriven into the whole thing. Screws overdriven, screw depth is incorrect. This is inherent throughout new cuff parade. This will result in future cracking as the boards are not fixed to the studs correctly, right? So this is an example. Okay, this comes from a manual. This is the correct practice of screw fixing. Take a look at, it just is flush with the thing. And here is an image of what happens when it is incorrectly fixed. You can see it has eaten into the this thing. It has gone inside. There is a hole, right? This is taken from slightly from one side, so you don't even see the head of the screw on this side, and you see that it has pitted into the gypsum board over here. This is screw, the upper one is screw driven to correct depth without breaking the paper liner. This is how it's supposed to be done. Okay, and the lower one is the incorrect one. Now I want to show you another thing. This kind of thing has also happened a lot in Lodha New Cuff Parade, and because of that, the dry walls have lost their strength. Okay, there are several things wrong in this image. Point 1, there are these huge gaps between boards which you can see. There should be no gap. Number 2, if there is a joint like this gap, the joint should have been supported. There should be a noggin bar over here horizontally. Number 3, you see that this is RCC, and there is this stud which is fixed to the RCC, which is on this side. It is fixed and it is supporting the wall, the gypsum board over here. Again, it is fitted over here and it is supporting the gypsum board over here, which is all right. But look at this section. Okay, here you got this. It is fitted at the head. It's called the head rail. We talked about this yesterday. It is important for deflection, and the head rail is fixed over here, and it is fitted to the ceiling slab. Now, what is this? There is no stud here. The stud here is completely missing, and the result is that this gypsum board is completely unsupported. It has no support whatsoever. So it says this, the comment says metal stud section missing, unsupported board to concrete junction, and you can see it clearly over there. So these are some of the faults in the gypsum board that has been hugely these are concealed now, by the way. You will not see them because these joints, this kind of ugly joints, have just been taped over, and this kind of irregular joints have been taped over and painted over, so you cannot see them. You will not know that this is an imperfect wall, but this is terrible quality work, and this is all over Lodha New Cuff Parade. all the internal walls, all the internal work of Lodha New Cuff Parade, other than the structural work, is, or the RCC work, is done in this kind of quality standards. It is everywhere. There is abundant number. This is called, they are saying here, there's a comment here, incorrect service penetration cutouts. Now take a look at this cutout and look at the now kind of unnecessary cuts that have been made. This is thuk patti, this is jugad, this is completely horrible work, and for this reason this entire the entire drywall work of Lodha New Cuff Parade needs to be condemned. It needs to be entirely discarded. I know it is going to cost Lodha a huge amount, but that is the only solution to salvaging some value out of Lodha New Cuff Parade. Otherwise, you are left with a bunch of walls which will behave very randomly. They will not stand up to ordinary force. They will break, they will crack, all sorts of things will happen. Okay, thank you for listening, guys. I will come back with some more information soon.